Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. I have the good fortune to be joined by Alicia Blagrove. Alicia, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Let's go back in time a little bit. How did you get started?
With my business?
Yes.
So it started a few years ago. I did a training in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy. And the information that I learned there was so helpful in just changing and supporting my life and transforming my life that I wanted to be able to do the same for other people as well.
Awesome. So talk a little bit about what you're doing now.
So what I'm doing now is I've just created a program that I'm going to be testing out soon. It's to help women entrepreneurs who are struggling emotionally from a toxic relationship, and that in turn is negatively impacting their ability to make money in their business. So that's something that I'm currently working on in the moment. Plus I have a blog dedicated towards helping women with emotional healing, empowerment, and personal development.
So those are all super important topics. Who are the types of women entrepreneurs that you're working with? Can you talk about, like, you don't obviously need to share any names, but if that identity is confidential, but can you talk examples of, like, this is Mrs. Smith or Miss Joan, and this is the issue that she had when she found you, and then kind of how the results and how you worked with her?
I can share one story because she gave me a testimonial and she kind of explained her situation in there. So I'll use her as an example. So for the example is we had just one session together and she was struggling as an entrepreneur. And she didn't realize that she was basically holding on to different experiences that she had, negative ones in the past that were negatively influencing her in the present, including like limiting beliefs that she had about her surrounding business. So in the one session that we did together, I helped her clear away like her suppressed emotions that were connected to the events that she had or experienced trauma in. And in doing so, like she said, she immediately felt the difference in her body, because when you begin to let go of, things that are going on unconsciously in your mind, your physiology changes. So she began to feel the difference immediately in her body. And she was able to let go. Like she said, she didn't realize that she had been holding on to pain from having a miscarriage and losing her mom and things like that. And she was basically suppressing her emotions so she didn't have to deal with the pain from those experiences. So I basically was able to help her release the pain from those experiences.
That is absolutely fantastic. What are some of the biggest mistakes people are making that you're able to identify and help them with?
I think not necessarily a mistake, but I think one thing that a lot of people struggle with, and some people are familiar with this term, some people may not be, but struggling with limiting beliefs. And a limiting belief is basically a belief that restricts you in some way. It's negative, it's not supportive, and it's basically detrimental to the results that you're trying to achieve in your life. I'll give an example. With the same woman that I was speaking about before, she, and during our session, I was asking her, if she could write down limiting beliefs that she would like to clear during our session. And she's like, oh, I don't have any. And I was like, okay. But after talking to her, she said that entrepreneurs are very lonely people. And, she felt that once you're at the top that you don't really have any close friends. And, I was like, those are all limiting beliefs that you just shared with me there. And I asked him, like, how is that affecting your life right now? And she thought about it, and then she started laughing because she realized how her limiting beliefs were playing out in her own life. Like, she didn't really talk to a lot of people, and not because people didn't try to talk to her, but because she kind of kept people like at bay. She wouldn't let anyone get close to her. So that's an example of how, like, a limiting belief can play out whether you're consciously aware of it or not.
How do we know if we all have limiting beliefs? How do we identify what they are so that we can work with someone like you to help us expose and get rid of or transform them?
I think one of the easiest way to really do that is to for a day, have like a notepad and pen, and write down all the negative things that you say to yourself. Because most people don't pay attention to the way that they talk to themselves, whether it's aloud or whether it's in their head. Like, things like, oh, I'm always going to be poor, or I'm so stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an imposter. Nobody's going to listen to me. I'll never make money in my business. Write all that stuff down. And then at the end of the day, review your list and see what it is that you've been saying to yourself, because everything that you've been saying to yourself is basically creating the results that you're getting. And if you want to change your results, then you change the way that you talk to yourself. So once you have an idea what your limiting beliefs are, this is something I've had some success with, is positive affirmations. Write a positive affirmation for each limiting belief, and then read your list of positive affirmations out, once in the morning when you wake up and once before going to bed at night. So that's a strategy that I've had success with, that I've been able to do on my own. And if you're looking, the key with positive affirmations though is that it needs to be repetitive. You need to keep repeating the affirmations, so eventually your unconscious mind begins to accept what you're saying. But there's other methods that I've used that work much faster than positive affirmations do.
Absolutely. Now, who inspires you? Who do you learn from? Who do you follow?
I would say I've learned from a number of different people. Like, I love reading. So that's one thing. Like, I learn a lot from reading. I like Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love his books that he's written. And like I said, I did my fast track training for NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy, and I learned a lot through that program. So I'm always focusing on my personal development, so I'm able not only to help myself, but help the people that I work with as well too. So there's a number of different things I'm always learning, because I've spent more than 10 years on my own personal development, like my emotional healing and things like that. So I've learned, like, through trial and error, what works, what doesn't work, what works but takes a long time. And so, like, I've shared with my clients, just because it took me 10 years doesn't mean it's going to take you 10 years to achieve what I achieved. So just based on my own experience, I'm able to help women get results much faster than I did for myself. Now that I know, okay, this works, and I can leave that alone now.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. How are people finding you?
So I'm on Facebook. I have my own blog, as I said, which anyone who's watching this, if you want to check it out, there's some great content on there. So, and the blog is called theemotionalhealingblog.com. So if you want to check that out. There's great content there, as I said, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
And what have been some of the challenges you've had to overcome growing your own business? And more importantly, what were some of the lessons you learned?
One of the lessons that I've learned is to be persistent and to be resilient. So, like, if I have a plan or I have a strategy and it doesn't quite go the way that I want it to, kind of paying attention to see where I went wrong. So the next time I don't I don't make the same mistake. So I think it's really just a learning process. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is to take one step at a time with everything, because I can't do 5 things at once. So focus on I'm going to focus on this step first. Once I've completed that step, then I'll move on to the next step, which will help bring me closer to my goals.
What you advise people every day, what is the best advice you've ever gotten?
The best advice that I've ever gotten would be that not to make myself invisible or to play small to make other people around me who aren't, passionate about their dreams or dedicating time to their dreams more comfortable with me. So I think that's one of the many pieces of advice that I've received that's been very, very helpful.
If you were me, what questions would you ask yourself? What else do you want to share that I haven't asked you yet?
What
else would you like to talk about before my next question?
Okay. I'm thinking, so what advice would I give that you haven't asked about yet?
Or what do you want to talk about in terms of your business, your journey?
I would say that, as I said, just being persistent, being determined, even those days especially on the days when you don't want to do certain things, do them anyways. You'll feel so much better after you've done those tasks. And if you let the day go by and you didn't do it and you left it to another day and you kept pushing it off, I think that's one piece of advice that I would give, definitely.
Okay. And if you had to start over, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
I would be more selective about who I learn from, because I've, invested in different programs just to help me learn how to do things online and build an audience online. And I wasted money on certain programs that weren't right for me, but the person that kind of enrolled me in the program, didn't explain things the way that would have helped me understand better whether it was right for me or not, even though I asked specific questions to understand that. And then going in and spending the money and finding out, okay, this is not for me, or I didn't get results. So I think, just be very careful who you learn from, who you invest money in, and make sure that even if they have testimonials, just make sure that the system that they use or the methods that they use will be able to help you and apply to your specific situation.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, for our folks who are watching or listening and want to learn more about what you're doing, where is the best place for them to go to find you?
The best place to go would be, I think, to my blog, because it showcases some of the topics that I help other women with, and they can follow the blog as well. So I would direct them to my blog.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been Seth Greene with Alicia Blagrove. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks everybody for watching or listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.